This is a video showing the Year 8 Numeracy Procedural Test solutions for the 2014 tests. Question 1. This is a BidMash question, so the first thing we have to do is to do the brackets first. So it would be 18 times, and the bracket comes to 10, so the answer would be 180. Question 2. Add 1.95 to 19. So if you add up the whole number parts, you have 19 and 1 is 20, so the answer is 20.95. Question 2, subtract 1.95 from 19. So I would do this by subtracting 2 to start off with, and then compensating by adding something on. So 19 take away 2 is 17, but by subtracting 2, I've subtracted 0.05 too much. So that 0.05 has to be added back on at the end. So my final answer is 17.05. Question 3. Some children got these scores in a spelling test. Question is, what score is the mode? Now, scanning through these numbers, what's jumping out at me, I can see that we have 8 there on 3 occasions. We have 4 here on 2 occasions, so the most, and 6 also in 2 occasions. But mode is which is the number that is most occurring, and it is 8. Question 4. Write a square root of 16. So what we're asking when we square root is what number times by itself gave me 16, and the answer is 4. Question 5. £1 equals 8.8 Danish kroner. We need to find what £5 is equal to. So, a couple of different ways to do this. One way is we could multiply the 8.8 by 5. Another way is we could say if £1 is 8.8 kroner, then we know that £10 is going to be 88 kroner. And then what we could do is we could half it, giving us 44 kroner as the £5 answer. Question 6. 3 1/4 minutes is how many minutes and how many seconds? Well, it's obviously 3 full minutes, but what is a quarter of a minute in seconds? Well, half a minute is, a full minute first of all is 60 seconds, half a minute is 30 seconds, and a quarter is 15 seconds. Question 7. The cost of a mobile phone is £4.99 each month for the first 6 months, then £19.79 for each month after that. The question is, estimate to the nearest £10 the cost of a mobile phone for the first year. Now, when we estimate, what we must do is pick nice round numbers rather than the decimal numbers that are in the question. So, instead of £4.99 for the first 6 months, I'm going to use £5 for the first 6 months, which means that will be £30 for the first 6 months of this deal. Then it says it's going to be £20 for every month after this. So if I'm doing a full year, that means it's another 6 months. So I'm going to be spending £20 for the next 6 months, which comes to £120. And the full year will be the sum of those two numbers, which is going to be £150. Question 8. What is 33 1/3% of 600? Well, 33 1/3% is really 1/3 as a fraction. So the question is really, what is a third of 600? Well, to work out a third of something, we divide it by 3. So the answer is it's £200. Question 9. 10 times 0.5 minus 8 times 0.5. So if we apply BidMash to this question, that means we must do the multiplications before we deal with the subtractions. So 10 times 0.25 is 2.5. 8 times 0.25 is 2 wholes, and we subtract them, giving us 0.5 as our answer. Question 10. Cereal is 60 pence per 100 grams. So what does a 350 gram cereal box cost us? Well, that box is 3.5 times the size of the amount mentioned in the rectangle by the cereal. So what we're going to have to do is 3.5 lots of the 60p. So that would be 60, 60, 60, and a half is 30, and we're going to add those up, and the first column is 0, the next column, the 3 6s are 18, and the 3 is 21, but of course that's pence, So then what we have to do is convert it into pounds, which is £2, 10 pence. Question 11. Write 42/70ths as simple as possible. So this is simplifying or cancelling down. So we have to divide the top and bottom by a highest factor we can think of. And the one that's coming to mind for me at the moment is 7. So I'm going to divide top and bottom by 7. So how many 7s go into 42? It's 6. How many 7s go into 70? It's 10. And what I've just noticed is I obviously didn't divide by the highest common factor, because 6 and 10 are both even numbers. I can therefore divide again. So I'm going to divide the top and the bottom by 2, and I will get 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So the answer will be 3/5. The highest common factor, incidentally, would have been 14, and had I divided by 14 straight off, I would have got the answer immediately. But as you can see, it doesn't matter if you don't find the highest common factor, it just means you may have to do more than one division. Question 12. What is 8 1/5 of a kilometre in metres? Well, a kilometre is 1,000 metres, so 8 kilometres would be 8,000, but what the heck is a fifth of a kilometre? Well, you just divide that 1,000 by 5, so it's 8,200. Question 13. What percentage of 350 is 35? That's a nice easy one. It's 10%. Question 14. Here is a train timetable showing the stations of Cardiff Central, Hereford, Shrewsbury and Chester. There are 5 columns indicating 5 different trains throughout the day. Now, it says under the table, Mark wants to travel from Cardiff Central to Chester. How much longer does the 17:21 train take than the 13:21 train? So I think I'm going to have to highlight both trains on this timetable. So the first train is the 13:21 train, and the second is the 17:21 train. Okay, so what we need to do now is have a little look at these different times. So the first train, the 13:21 train, if I look at the hour part of the time, it's gone from 13 to 16, so that is 3 hours. And if I look at the minutes, it's gone from 21 to 26, so that's 5 minutes. Now if I look at the other train, the 17:21, the 17 to 20, if I look at the hours part, that's 3 hours. But if I look at the minutes, it's gone from 21 to 32, so that is 11 minutes. Now the difference between these two times is that the 17:21 train is actually 6 minutes longer. 2.7 divided by 3. Now, what you could do here is ignore the decimal point, and you could do 27 divided by 3, which is 9. But what you then have to do is compensate and put that decimal point back in, one place from the start, which is where it was in the original 2.7, and you get an answer of 0.9. Question 16. What is 5 cubed? Well, to cube a number, you multiply it by itself 3 times in a row. So 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times the final 5 is 125. Question 17. Marie finds this information. There were 750,000 births last year in England and in Wales. The pie chart shows the ages of the mothers. Work out the number of births for mothers aged under 20. So there were 750,000, which is 750,000 births. Now, if 5% of those were under 20, the first thing we would do is work out what 10% was. So divide the number by 10, which is going to give us 75,000. And then what we would have to do to work out 5%, we would halve this. Now, probably the easiest way to do this is to look at the 750 at the front, and half of 750 is 375, and then we'd add the extra 2 zeros, giving us 37,500 births. Question 18. Megan and Nia share some money in the ratio 3:2. So that means Megan's the 3 parts and Nia has the 2 parts. It then says Megan has 24. So what have we done to Megan's share to turn it into £24? Well, we have made it 8 times the size. In that case, Nia will have 2 times 8, which is going to give £16, and that's the answer to part 1. The second part of this question, Gethin and Ed share some money in the ratio 1 to 4. So Gethin is the first part of the ratio, the 1, and Ed is the second part of the ratio, the 4. It says Gethin has £35. How much do they all have together? Well, to turn a 1 into £35, you have to have multiplied it by 35. So if I multiply the 4-part share by 35, well, I know 2 35s are 70, and then I double it again, which gives me 140. So that means together they have a grand total of £175. Flight from Cardiff departs 9:25 UK time to Barbados and arrives at 13:55 Barbados time. We're told Barbados is 4 hours behind the time in the UK, so how long is the flight? Well, if I look at the difference in those two times as they stand, to go from 9 in the morning to 1300 hours, that is a time of 4 hours, and from 25 minutes to 55 minutes is 30 minutes. Now, to compensate for the fact that Barbados is 4 hours behind the UK, I would then have to add on 4 hours, so the total length of the flight would be 8 hours and 30 minutes. Question 20. The area of this triangle is 10 centimetres. What is the length? Now, what I would personally do here is I would turn this into a rectangle. So if the area of the triangle was 10, I know the area of the rectangle is 20. So 5 times what gave me 20? Well, the answer is 5 times 4. Question 21. 0.1 times 0.1 is going to give me 0.01. My answer needs to have 2 decimal places to correspond with the 2 individual decimal places that were in the question. Joe is a gardener. His hourly rate is £8. He has increased his hourly rate by 10%. Then he increased it again by 10%. What is his hourly rate after that? So, if his initial rate was £8 and he's going to increase it by 10%, 10% of £8 would be 0.8, so that's 80p. So his new rate would have been £8.80. Okay, but then he has to increase it again. So 10% of £8.80 would be 88 pence. So that means now his final rate is going to be £8.80 plus 88 pence. And when you add that up, it gives us an answer of £9.68. Question 23. The graph shows a conversion graph for changing between degrees C and degrees F. So, the information is about one day in Wales. The mean temperature was 11 degrees C with a range of 4 degrees C. We then have to turn those temperatures into degrees F. So if we start first with the mean temperature of 11 degrees C, if we look at the graph, degrees C is on the horizontal axis, so what we have to do is find where 11 degrees C is and read up to the graph. Then we have to read across, and what we can see is that is one little sort of square above 50. So what is it going up in this graph? Well, between 30 and 40 there are 5 small steps, so it is going up in 2s. So this would be 52 degrees F. Now the second thing, the range of 4 degrees C into degrees F, what I would do here is find 2 temperatures that have a range of 4 degrees C on the graph. So I'm going to start with 14 degrees and then look at 18 degrees. So if I take 14 degrees and go up to the graph, what I can see is that 14 degrees is approximately 57 degrees F. Then 18 degrees, if I go up to the graph, is approximately 64 degrees. So then if I work out the difference between 57 and 64, I know that is 7 degrees F. The bearing of B from A is 100 degrees. This can be seen on the diagram. Circle the value of angle Y. Now what you have here is you have a pair of north lines and they are connected, and this makes a lovely C-shape angle. And when we have a C-shape angle, the angles in the corners of the C-shape angle have a special property, and that property is that they add up to 180 degrees. So the value of y is 80 degrees. The second part of this question is, what is the bearing of A from B? So that is the actual clockwise angle we turn through in order to face A. It's marked on the drawing. Well, I know the angle y is 80 degrees, and this arrow around at B and the 80 should make a grand total of 360. So I can do 360, take away the 80, and that will give me a bearing of 280 degrees. Question 25. Round 4,519 to one significant figure. So the first significant figure is the figure at the front of the number here, which is 4,000. So I have to decide if that's going to stay as 4,000 or whether it's going to go up to 5,000. The figure that's going to help me decide this is in fact the second significant figure, which is a 5, and a 5 will always round things up, so the answer will be this is closer to 5,000 than 4,000. Question 26. Alice thinks of a number. 1/10 of her number is 18, so what is 1/5 of that number? Well, 1/5 is a fraction that actually is bigger than 1/10. It is in fact twice the size. So the answer would be twice 18, which is 36. Question 27. The table shows the number of children in each family and frequencies. So we've been asked to work out the total number of children in these families. So children, the number of families with one child was 6. So 6 times 1 child is 6 children. The number of families with 2 children was 10. So 10 times 2 would be a total of 20 children. And we keep multiplying like that. So we would then have 5 times 3, which is 15. 3 times 4, which is 12, and 1 times 5, which is 5. Now the total number of children will be the sum of all these, so we have 5, 10, 16, 18 as our first column, and then 2, 3, 4, 58, which gives us an answer of 58 children.